about the Missouri Link direct deposit programs? How does that work?
It's been one of the biggest success stories that we've had in my administration. We've worked hard, thanks to your help in the House, with Republicans and Democrats, and actually got something done that's substantial. We've done $1.3 billion now, with a B, in small business and farm loans. We do these loans without any credit risk for the state. And what we do, Senator, is we have partnerships with smaller community banks all around Missouri, in every part of Missouri, and we're able to help those businesses and those farms access lower cost financing.
That's great.
And it's touched 25,000 jobs in farms, which, you know, the most important job that I felt like I had when I took office was A, protect our money and keep it safe, but also find ways to invest so that we can create jobs and opportunities, because that was the #1 issue that families were facing.
What kind of, how many jobs do you think a program like the Link Deposit Program creates in Missouri?
No, we think it touches at least 25 to 30,000 jobs that we've been able to touch through the lending. And it's important to mention that we're not spending any money to get there. We're just really working smarter. It's a public-private partnership between community banks and the state in order to leverage our dollars to put it to work and keep low-cost capital flowing for smaller businesses and farms. So it's nice to be able to talk to these small businesses, and Senator, that some of them are retail outlets, some of them are manufacturing companies, some of them are construction companies. It all varies. But the key is that they're small businesses under 100 employees, and they're looking to try to reinvest. Even during those tough times, they were trying to hire more employees. They were trying to reinvest in the business in some way that positioned itself for success long term.
And is it used all over the state? St. Louis, the big metropolitan areas, as well as the rural areas, take advantage of it?
It is. It's throughout the entire state. Now, it had very little presence in the St. Louis region when I took office, and now it has a significant presence. But the key is that we've grown it all parts of Missouri. So we have a very vibrant and active agriculture program in southwest Missouri, for example, and southeast Missouri. And then we have a lot of commercial lending for small businesses in St. Louis and Kansas City and Springfield.
And these are not, so this is not a new program. These are programs that you have brought improvement to.
Exactly. We made changes. The #1 problem with a lot of this we found is there was a lot of red tape and bureaucracy in this program. So we worked with the legislature to streamline the program, make it easier to use, make it more attractive for banks and for borrowers, and really just followed common sense principles. I mean, if you're a business, how would this work for you? And when you follow that and use a little common sense and you work with the legislature to do that, you can have something that actually works. So,
what is well, I hate for you to choose your project or choose your program that you are most married to.
Yeah.
But what are you most proud of in your office?
I think two things I'm sort of equally happy about. One, I am proud of the work we did with our small business and farm loan program, because I think it's a testament of really reaching out beyond party lines, working with both sides to actually get something tangible accomplished. And something, by the way, that was very relevant for that time period. We're looking for ways to create jobs, help support small businesses, help them thrive during great times, help them survive during those tough times. And we did that. And we did it with a combination of hard work, traveling around the state, sort of publicizing the importance of doing this, but also, just sort of pushing legislators in the right direction, right? The second issue is we worked on the program to care for veterans who are returning from overseas, for kids who are aging out of foster care, and for those who are suffering from some sort of mental illness that are high risk of being homeless. Those folks really aren't served often, as you well know, in the way that they deserve to be, and they're very vulnerable. So we dedicated housing resources to them for the first time. Missouri is a leader in this. I led that effort. It was voted down unanimously the first year and then approved unanimously a year later. And what we did again is really just press the pedal to the metal and educate Missourians on the importance of caring for that vulnerable population, and that frankly caring for them saves us money in the long term. So both of those issues.
Sure, it does save us a lot of money.
It saves us a lot of money when you invest in people.
And people don't understand that when you invest in humanity.
That's right.
It's basically what it is.
And what we know is that people, to reach their full potential, have to have some sense of community around them and some sense of support. Whether that's local government, whether that's faith-based, whether that's state government. But, I was the first person in my family to go to college because somebody before me chose to invest in higher education in this state, for example. So that connection between community and individual freedom, I think, is an important one, and it's one that we try to live up to.
Well, I appreciate your time.
It's great to be with you.
And I hope that when session is over, do you have a legislative package for this this session?
You know, my view with the legislature is that we are efficient and that we ask them for help when we needed to get things done for taxpayers, but we're going to do our job and not bother them if we don't need them. So.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate that as legislators.
Yeah, that's great.
Because everybody, I know you have a good crew of liaisons that come out and meet with us when there are issues.
Yes.
And you seem to have a pretty good open door policy, which is what I like, because that's kind of the motto around here.
Well, thanks so much for
These doors are never closed. But, Mr. Treasurer, what would you say to young people coming in to the political arena? I know I've had interns in here.
Sure.
And I'm sure you have interns in your office every year.
You know, I think, first of all, when I speak to young people and interact with them, I think it's one of the most energizing things for me personally, because it helps remind me and reaffirms why I got involved in politics for the first time, the idea that you can make some sort of a difference and impact. Mm-hmm. And I was back at my alma mater, back at Hazelwood West, speaking to a group of government students recently, and had a chance to sort of talk about, you know, how to get involved and sort of the path that I led. And, you know, I think one thing that I would say is there is no perfect path, right? We're all different. We all sort of have different interests and values in terms of how we approach politics, regardless of our party affiliation or sort of our personal background. But finding something that you're passionate about, I think, is sort of a step one.
I'm interested, did you see changes in how you thought at their age at Hazelwood, and what issues they're talking about now, and what would lead them to be in their government class?
Well, that's interesting. I think one of the things early on that I thought about was, you know, my dad and grandfather were both members of a union, and I saw the role that sort of the larger organization played in their own lives. The idea that, you know, together, working together, that we can be more impactful for individuals. And I think that was sort of an early calling, maybe not directly into public service, but just a calling and sort of an awareness that was built up. And then throughout high school and college, sort of the idea of serving seemed really interesting to me. So I served in student government in college, served as vice president of student government, served on the student newspaper, got involved with things, not that they were sort of, some sort of path was set up for me to run for some larger office, right, but with the idea that it was fun, it was interesting, it was intellectually stimulating in a way. And that sort of drove my decisions. And I think the most important advice I'd give to a young person is find something you're passionate about and get involved. And with a state representative campaign or a city council campaign, there's a lot of ways for young people to get involved in political campaigns if that's an area of their interest.
Well, tell me this: when you were in my class in the House, when you walked in there, did you ever think you were going to be treasurer?
No.
Okay.
No, I knew people, and we served with people that sort of had their entire life plotted out.
Yeah, they had a map.
And sometimes it doesn't work out, right? The ground shifts underneath you pretty quickly, and they end up doing other things, right? So I think making sure that young people are sort of ready for change and accept the fact that maybe that course might change over time is important. I mean, I'm not interested in being in politics, and neither are you, because we see it just as some sort of, you know, permanent career, but it's an idea that at least for a period certain while we're in office, we can be impactful, right? We can make a difference.
Is there term limits on the treasurer's office?
There is. It's 2 terms, so I'm able to serve 8 years as state treasurer. And just as an aside, one of my first volunteers on my campaign in 2004 was a high school student. He was 17 at the time. He came back and worked for me as my legislative director as state treasurer for 3 years.
Wow.
So, and that's sort of the connection point between volunteering on a campaign and later on suddenly you're able to work for a statewide official.
What are your plans for the next 4 years? What is it you want to accomplish while you're still the treasurer?
Well, I think first of all, the priority of keeping people's money safe, keeping taxpayers' money safe and secure isn't something that sort of you just do it and you're done, right? It's a fight every day to make sure that we're protecting Missourians on Main Street from some of the disasters that we've seen on Wall Street. So making sure that we're a strong consumer advocate for those Missourians is my job day in, day out, every single day. Doing our job with excellence every day is an important responsibility. But I think the larger issue is sort of how do we connect the dots in this state and produce a vision that allows our state to grow and create opportunities for the next generation, right?
Right.
And to have those conversations, not just among Democrats or Republicans, but have those conversations between both parties where we produce an overall vision that helps us invest in our future. And I think as a statewide official, a state treasurer, I have a responsibility to help contribute to that, to help talk about things that actually create jobs and investment in our future, to talk about things that actually help our young people before school begin to get ready for school, things like preschool education. Those are investments we know that make sense and that are smart. So having statewide officials acknowledge the fact that, we have to work together to be able to sort of get to the finish line and be the state that we want to be.
Do you think that there's any political future for either of your daughters?
Well, I'll tell you that when it comes to debate, they win most of the debates with me. So
that's because you're a dad and you have daughters.
So I think I told them my main goal is that they're interested in the world that they live in, right? And I also said that to the kids at Hazelwood West the other day, that it doesn't have to be politics where you make a difference, right? It can be social work. It can be working with children in some way. It can be teaching. It can be working in construction, but on the side you're doing volunteer activities for a food bank, right? It can be any number of ways to get involved. So I think finding things that you're passionate about, excited about, and sort of understanding early on that it isn't just about you and that it's about your friends and your neighbors too, and building that sense of community, I think is important.
Well, and the world becomes smaller and smaller every year. In that, I don't see anything wrong with mandatory, some kind of voluntary service for everybody.
I think it's right because it builds cohesion and it builds some sense of mutual responsibility that
builds character.
Yeah, we're about caring for each other, right? And that doesn't mean doing everything for someone, but that means letting each of us know that we support each other on the journey.
We've been visiting with Clint Zweifel. He's Missouri State Treasurer, and I hope that you can come back again.
Me too.
And share your thoughts with us. It's been a pleasure, Mr.
Thanks for
Treasurer.
having me on.
Absolutely.